All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Stacy Stoyanoff. Stacy's been an educator for over 30 years, working in both K through 12 and post-secondary schools. Throughout his extensive career, he's been a teacher, curriculum coordinator, and administrator. However, most of his career has been focused on leading and shaping high-performing public, private, and charter K through 12 college preparatory schools that embrace liberal arts curriculum. His expertise is in teaching, learning, and college readiness. He's also worked with teachers to prepare students in advance for advanced academic measures such as advanced placement and international baccalaureate programs and various capstone projects. Stacy spent the last 2 decades working to improve student achievement in K through 12 public charter schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He coached golf, led many extracurricular activities, and served as the school's IB assistant examiner in biology for many years. He earned an undergraduate degree in biology and classical languages from Monmouth College, and he also expanded his he also got his graduate degrees in information sciences and the classics from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. He also expanded his academic experience by studying abroad at the American School of Classical Studies in Athens, Greece. He's planning to complete his doctorate in education in development and impact of future readiness skills. Let's see, where am I at here? I lost my spot. I didn't chop it up. I'm going off all my little marks on here. So Stacy is an avid sports fan. I won't give away that just yet. We'll let that be a surprise, Jim. But he hails from Illinois originally, spent the last 20 years in Dallas. He's an amazing cook, by the way. And I haven't seen him on the golf course yet, but I'm looking forward to that. So he lives here in Peoria now with a spouse of 24 years, Dawn, and his 2 college-age children, Sydney and Sam. Please help me welcome Stacy Stoyanoff.
Well, thank you for having me. Can you guys hear me in the back? All right. It has been a, sure, I know how this works really quick. There we go. So I am from Illinois. Can I move around?
Do you want a wireless?
No, I mean I can.
No, we have one.
We got one. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just because I want to kind of make sure I see what's on the slide.
Oh, yeah.
But I am born and raised in Illinois. I actually grew up downstate in a place called. I grew up in Granite City, Illinois, which is right across from St. Louis. Does anybody know where Granite City is? It's a steel mill town. My dad was a steel worker. Had a great education, by the way. Didn't know it at the time, but it was an awesome experience comparatively what I've, kind of grown into as an educator. We actually grew up at a place called Lincoln Place, which has got some historical connectivity to it. There's a lot of ethnic groups that lived in Lincoln Place, and at one point it was called Hungry Hollow, because that's where the immigrants would come and work in the steel mills. It's kind of an interesting history behind it. Central Illinois, and actually just Illinois in general, has a huge immigrant population that has thrived over the last century, basically. I did get educated here in the great state of Illinois. I studied at Monmouth College, which is just down the road. My son is graduating this year. He took degree paths from both me and his mother. Mom was an economist, so he's working on his double major in economics and classical languages. So he took the classic side of me. I was a biologist, and then I got excited about classical languages. I always wanted to be Indiana Jones. That's it. I mean, I saw it at the theater, and so how do I get to Greece? How do I get to somewhere where there's temples and things to do? I had a great time learning about classical languages, Latin and Greek. We're going to learn a little Greek today. And I did study at the American School of Classical Studies in Athens, which was one of the best experiences. I encourage all of my students to go abroad at some point in their lives. I think it's well worth the effort. I did my graduate work in University of Illinois Champaign, Urbana, another great institution, loved it. My son is most likely going to U of I for his graduate work too. My daughter stayed in Texas, so she's working on her PhD in psychology. I am being from where I'm from in Granite City, Illinois, I am a diehard Cardinals fan and a Blues fan. My wife is a Cubs fan, so I am empathetic. My wife is a Cubs fan. And when I was young, the St. Louis Cardinal football team had just moved for the most part when I started to be kind of aware. And so I became a Bears fan pretty quickly just because of Walter Payton. So I mean, even though I had no context of Chicago, I always loved watching him run. Let me flip this a little bit. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about the school down the street here, which is called Peoria Academy. It's got a 20+ year history in the community. It's an amazing little campus. It really is. Beautiful building. We serve kids pre-K all the way through 8th grade. I'm learning a lot because I literally just moved here this summer. I bought a house just down the road, and the school itself is a private school, but it's an independent school. It's accredited by the Independent Schools Association of the Central States. So that's its accrediting. We're about to become an IB school. And does anybody know what IB school, except if you're from Richwoods? So International Baccalaureate is really my background. That's what I have spent most of my post working with IB teachers and IB students. I taught IB biology for many, many years. That was my gig. And it was a great experience. As a teacher, I became a curriculum coordinator and eventually became a principal in Texas. And then when the kids got old enough, I thought it was time for us to go back and see fall. People ask me, why did I come back? And I'm like, it's fall. I mean, literally, the fall of this year was beautiful, right? In Texas, you don't get any season, really. I mean, I'll have Christmas and it's 90 degrees sometimes. I mean, it's very hot. Sure, in February, I might be saying something different when the snow really comes in. But I absolutely love fall and spring. And so it's great to be back in the Midwest. So Peoria Academy is an IB candidate school. What I've learned as I got to meet a lot of different people. I'm actually interacting with the diploma coordinator at Richwoods almost on a daily, if not definitely a weekly basis, but he sends me emails all the time because many of our kids end up going to Richwoods to do the diploma program. And when our alumni came back earlier this fall, I was completely excited to hear that they felt that they were extremely well prepared for high school, which is what we want, right? As a pre-K through 8 school. And we found out, we're collecting all this information now, many of our alumni have gone to some very highly selective schools, right? In part because of Peoria Academy, but also because of Richwoods. I mean, it's an excellent school too. But I just want to give you an idea. One of the things that we have on our website is Peoria Academy, a history of excellence. And so the word we're going to learn today is arete. It's a Greek word. It's my favorite word in the Greek language, actually, because it literally is translated as individual excellence or excellence in individual things, okay? And that's what we do as educators. We try to find our students' individual excellence. We try to move it forward. We try to encourage them to find their passions, right, what they're good at. And it's a great word. It's kind of the unofficial motto of Peoria Academy now. The faculty really enjoy that notion of it. It also has a context of virtue, which I think is interesting because it can be used both ways. And what I like about the word arete is, and it's actually the quote on I guess it would be your left. The quote is actually they generally quote it for Aristotle. It's really not, it's a summation of Aristotle's thoughts by a man named Will Durant, who is a famous historian. But I want you to take a moment and just read that quote, because this is about everything in our lives. It's not just about education. Excellence is an art won by training and habituation. We do not act rightly because we have virtue or excellence, but we rather have those because we have acted rightly. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. You can debate this, but it's one of those things. I think when I look at the day-to-day operations of Peoria Academy, we have a habit of excellence. Our kids are doing everything that we ask of them and more, right, on a daily basis, and they are in the process. They're young young people now in the process of becoming or finding their individual excellence. And when they leave our school and they go to high school and they go to college and grad school, that's what we want to see happen. So it's one of my favorite words. We celebrated at Peoria Academy. It's a big deal. And you think about the word originally was used in Homer, right? And they used the word arete to describe heroes, like the excellence of Odysseus, right? That's his excellence was his mind. He was very, very, very knowledgeable, very intellectual. And then they used it for Achilles, right? And Achilles was the greatest fighter ever, right? So they were comparing the two. Homer was comparing the two. And so in many ways, as an educator, and there's educators in the room, we are really teaching our future heroes for the most part. That's what we do. I think it's a great profession. I love it. Wouldn't trade it at all. When you're a kid, you don't know what you're getting into. I didn't know I was going to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be Indiana Jones, right? And I remember in high school graduation, I had an English teacher named Cynthia Hormel. We always remember our teachers from the past, right? And Cynthia came up to me and actually gave me a hug, right? Very good. She gave me a hug at graduation and said, "You're going to make a great teacher someday." And I'm like, "What?" She was the prophet at that point, and so she knew exactly what was going to happen. So this is an important concept that we have at Peoria Academy that we kind of embrace on a day-to-day basis. Oh, by the way, let me go back real quick. Can I go back?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I just wanted to show you, we just had our science fair, and that's one of our students. Did an amazing job as an 8th grader and actually collecting data to discuss the whole theory of lift, Bernoulli's concept, Bernoulli's theory. It was absolutely amazing what she did. And she got it down into a very simplified form and then was really able to articulate it at the science fair. And again, that's what we're looking for. So as a school, what do we focus on? Well, why Peoria Academy? I think there are a lot of reasons. I listed some here for you. One, we have small classes, right? I can tell you, coming from Texas, there was a time I had almost 30, close to between 25 and 30 kids in a class. It's tough, I know. I've been to Richwoods and they have to struggle with the same issues. So having that many kids does strain your teachers, it does strain your administration, it strains everything in a school. We are lucky that we have small class size. We really are. And that class size is really, our classes are 12, 14 kids in a class with a teacher. And it does make a difference. It does have an impact. Our faculty is highly experienced. We do embrace fine art at all levels. Our kids take music and really music, art, and theater pretty much every year as they go through. They learn Spanish starting in pre-K. So foreign language is a big part of the whole curriculum. We love the outside. We have an outdoor education center, which is absolutely amazing. We have a master gardener that works with the kids every week, comes out and they go out and they plant. It's great for us because we get free cucumbers and tomatoes when we're in spring and summer. So it's really nice. We have an athletic program that's actually growing, but we offer all the major sports that we can for primary and middle school, right? It's a lot different world in high school. In addition, we have a lot of extra things for our families. Before and after care, we have extracurricular enrichment opportunities. So we'll offer a lot of STEM or STEAM activities, robotics, game design. I mean, there's just a whole host of things. Culinary arts, right? We do cooking after school. We are having summer camps, and you'll probably see some promo spots on the news, or at least on the TV. And the thing that our board has done right now is we want students to come to Peoria Academy, and we have so many spots. But we have decided to create scholarships that meet every financial need. And I think that's something that the community hasn't realized, is that we have scholarships for kids. And so if you know anyone who's looking for a pre-K through 8 independent private school that is about to be an international baccalaureate school, please send them our way. We're about to decide whether we're going to have year-round pre-K as a school, which is going to change our dynamic a little bit. So I just think if you've never been there, it's changed a lot since 2000. It really has. It looks different in many ways, and I think if you get a chance, please come out and take a look at Peoria Academy. I have to put this up here because we are a candidate school for IB, and it's just verbiage that says that we're not falsely marketing, IB, because we're not a school yet. We have our site visits for our primary years program at the end of this month, and then we have at the beginning of March for our middle school. So, but again, that's just something to make sure that I follow the rules. We are offering both the primary years program and the middle years program in IB. The schools I worked at in Texas were K through 12, so they had the full continuum of IB programs. It was a great experience. I was a diploma teacher for many years, so I got to see the end game, and what I've learned is I can teach a lot of that stuff, right? Our teachers can start preparing kids for a lot of the things they're going to see in 11th and 12th grade. We can start doing that in primary and middle school. And there's an alignment that happens in IB. I'm not going to focus on a lot of this piece to it, but there's an alignment. They call it the approaches to teaching and learning. And what it is, it's those college readiness skills that they're going to need when they get to high school and when they get to college. So we focus on kids being critical thinkers. We focus on kids being good communicators, all forms of communication, right? And that's one thing the alumni of Peoria Academy, when they came back, they said that they have no problem writing, right? They feel confident writing. When I was at the University of Illinois as a grad student, I taught freshman rhetoric for a few years, and I was astounded by the level of writing. It was very, it's tough, right? But I think our kids do have that advantage in the sense that communication is a big part. It also focuses on things like self-management skills, social emotional learning. So it's a really holistic, student-centered program that we're about to go into. And over the last 2 years, the teachers and the leadership have been working with the families to prepare them for this transition, which is going to happen relatively soon. Soon we will be Peoria Academy, an IB World School. I took your mission. By the way, I love Rotary International's mission. It's a great mission. And if you look at it, we provide services to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through our fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. When I read that the first time, I immediately thought of our IB mission statement. And you can see words I highlighted, right? More peaceful world, intercultural understanding, respect, right? Active, compassionate. That all ties together. And so that's the other part of my presentation today, is to talk a little bit about some of the things that make an IB program unique, right? And it is unique, right, to Central Illinois. There's not too many of us, right? We've got Richwoods and we've got Peoria Academy. There are some obviously in Chicago. There's some in the St. Louis area, and I think there's one. Is it in Champaign? I thought it was in near Springfield. But it is a very unique program. One thing that's big, the international part of International Baccalaureate, is the fact that we structure ourselves so that our students are internationally minded. And I think that's a big thing. And here's another Greek word for you, cosmopolites, right? It literally means citizen of the world. And it was originally stated by a cynic philosopher named Diogenes of Sinope. But it's a concept that's been around for a long time. And you have to actively promote it, right? In your day-to-day lessons, in your culture, in our units, you'll see it. Our kids are right now doing a world unit, and they are literally building different displays of different countries across the planet. And they are going to obviously then go visit all those countries and learn about how those cultures, what their perspectives are. The big part of this is multilingualism. So obviously our Spanish side, we only have one language right now. I'd love to see us get either French or Mandarin in the next few years. But intercultural understanding is a big part of international mindedness. We do this through trying to create opportunities for global engagement. And this is where you guys can help. If you think of any opportunities where we can engage in a global way, but on a local scale. And when I say that, there's a phrase, think global, act local. It's been around for a long time. It's a great phrase because sometimes we can't go and visit all these places. But we have an international community here in Peoria that we can tap into And we can provide service, we can provide whatever they might need. And that's the other part of this whole thing, is our service requirement as an IB school. Here are just some pictures, just to give you an idea. But our kids are over the holidays, we celebrate all cultures, and they all do different things. We're about to go into the spring, so we'll be doing our multicultural night. We had to move the date a little bit, but again, it's going to be a community event, and so we'll send information out as it gets closer to that date. It's going to be Cinco de Mayo this year, so it kind of goes along with our Spanish language learning. But our kids are very, very multicultural in that sense. They really do embrace other perspectives and other cultures. It's actually fun to see when I walk around and go in the classrooms. They do have that perspective already, and it's only been a while as an IB school. So clearly, prior to this IB initiative, Peoria Academy was a very international place. The other piece to this is service learning, and I'm not going to go into the whole process, but this is a big part of being an IB school, and it really is focused on what can we do for our community. And all of our kids, all of our grade levels, right, have to do service in some form. And Brent actually brings in local groups who need service in some way, and our kids actually will stand up and hopefully continue to provide that service for those groups. We think it's a big deal. Our 8th graders, as a requirement, have to do a really large community project, which they're working on right now. And so, again, service is a big part of any IB program, but it's definitely a part of Peoria Academy. Again, the concept of think global and act local. This is where I think we can have a lot of connectivity as a school. If anyone in the room has opportunities for our kids to serve the community, please just reach out to me or reach out to Brent. We would love to partner in that way. This is just some examples, some pictures of kids serving. This was at Christmas when they were doing the food drive. So again, it's a great school. I'm proud to be a part of the leadership. It's been an exciting few months, would you say, Mr. Ost? And but what keeps us going are the kids. When you walk into the building, the kids are so happy. I do tours all the time. Brent does tours all the time. The families are amazed at how well behaved our kids are, how engaged they are in the classrooms, and we have a pretty nice facility. So if you have any questions, do you have any questions about Peoria Academy? Sure.
How are you funded?
We are a private school, right? So there's a tuition. That's the primary funding. We also do advancement or development, and Brent is actually in charge of that. So we try to fundraise to close the gap for our needs, basically. But we do also budget properly so that we can have scholarships for people. And so if we have students that are interested in going to the school, actually we just took on this year a Ukrainian student. He was a refugee. The family was a refugee. The organization that sponsored them reached out to us, and we gave them a full scholarship. And the student didn't speak English at all. Mom spoke pretty good. Dad, a little bit. And within a semester, this student can literally, I can't believe how much he picked up in a few months. It was, we gave him some extra support, we gave him some extra time with his teacher, but this Ukrainian student is well ahead where I thought he was going to be. I figured it would take at least a year to get him caught up, and he is engaged, interacting. Every morning I do a question of the day. Sometimes they're a little weird, but I'll say it to him and he'll look at me and he'll answer. So he's, when you have a first grader, it's amazing that how fast they can pick up the language like that. So to that point, yeah, tuition is our primary funding, but we do a lot of different things to help raise money throughout the year. We're about to have our gala March 4th. So you're all invited if you want to come. But our gala is going to be a big night, and hopefully we do make a little additional funds so that we can provide more services to the school. Okay. Any other questions?
At what grade level do you accept these students?
At what grade level? Yeah, all grade levels. Yeah, as long as we have a spot, we do not want to have large classes. So we limit the number of spots that we have. But other than that, we'll take any grade level. We do go through a process. We have an admissions process where we go through and we make sure that this is the right place for the student. Again, our philosophy, and really IB's philosophy, is IB for all. If you talk to IBO, International Baccalaureate Organization, they will tell you IB is for all students. And so it's a powerful message. The schools I worked at in Texas were all IB for all schools. I've had students that you would never think that they would get the IB diploma, and they get the IB diploma just because a lot of it's a group piece to it. By the time they get there, if they're really vested with their peers, it's amazing how successful they can be. They work together as a team to get through it. But we'll accept students at any grade level, pre-K through 8. Yeah.
What's your middle school enrollment?
Just around 30. Yeah. So it's probably the smallest part of the school.
And that's a 5th through 8th?
6 through 8. Yeah. So it is again a small school, but I don't see us wanting to get beyond. We have one class right now that has 17 students in it, and that's pretty big for us, right? We want to keep our enrollment in that range. So, any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you so much.